7. The primary ingredient for progress of the inner self Shraddha, devotion to excellence. It is seen that in spite of adopting the same mantra and identical procedures of sadhana under the patronage of the same guru, the rate of progress of inner self in the sadhak varies from person to person. Some experience a faster self-advancement, whereas for others the progress is slow. Why does it happen? Scholars of spirituality have given a succinct explanation of this phenomenon. In the field of spirituality, Shraddha, faith, devotion, sincerity, surrender, reigns supreme. Just as in the physical world, the forces of nature are responsible for all actions, reactions and consequences thereof, the miracles in the field of spirituality depend on the intensity of Shraddha in the sadhak. In absence of Shraddha, spiritual practices are reduced to meaningless rituals and the efforts involved in them hardly produce any results. About significance of Shraddha, the creator of Gita says, Shraddham yo yam purusho, yo yat Shraddha, sa ev sa, Gita 17:3. Concept. It is the Shraddha of the worshipper which makes even the inert stone idols, live, and reactive to his entreaties, whereas capacity of paranormal miracles becomes attributed to the deity or shrine. It is said that by virtue of her strong intensity of Shraddha, the legendary princess poetess Meera had made her idol of Krishna so much reactive that it appeared to her more living than Krishna in person. There is an interesting incident in the great epic Ramayana about Shraddha and belief. While bridging the ocean, the bears and apes, symbolic names given to warriors of various racial descent, pronounced the name of Ram with intense Shraddha and it made stones float on water. On the other hand, when Ram himself threw stones, they sank in. Quoting this incident, the scholars of spirituality advocate that the name Ram is more powerful than Ram himself. However, here it must be understood that by itself the word Ram has no strength whatsoever. The power lies in the Shraddha, faith, accompanying the enunciation of the name which imparts it paranormal capabilities. Maharishi Patanjali, the foremost authority on yoga, propounds that Asan Pragyat Samadhi, a higher level of meditation, is achieved by anyone with the help of Shraddha. He says, Shraddhavirya Smriti Samadhi, Pragyapurvak Itresham. Yogdarshan 1/20. In the field of spirituality, the power of Shraddha is supreme. On the physical plane, the above power supports various types of activities and the resultant objectives are realized. Similarly, Shraddha remains at the roots of all psychic processes of the inner self. When developed in high intensity, it produces miracles. Any activity devoid of Shraddha is utterly meaningless. Rarely does it produce any useful result. In day-to-day interactions between people too, Shraddha and belief constitute the basis of credibility. In absence of self-confidence, which is nothing but Shraddha in one's own self, one finds it impossible to attempt some higher goal. Valor and courage are only synonyms for self-confidence, whereas aspirations and zeal are only reflections of self-confidence. In a family, only an understanding of personal relationship and close intimacy establishes the strong ties of mutual affection and cooperation. It is nothing but Shraddha which forms the basis of blessing of love and condescension in the family, with which each member is ever ready to do maximum sacrifice for others. A disruption in the chain of mutual Shraddha would certainly result in disintegration of the family. In absence of Shraddha, the family members would resort to infighting on the smallest pretext and will thus soon disperse and disorganize. Belief, credence, faith, trust, reliance, dependence, devotion and confidence are all components of Shraddha. In every field of human activity such as agriculture, industry, crafts and sports, successful operation depends on faith in propriety of the work. Interactions between businessmen depends only on reliance. The banking system, which takes large risks in advancing loans, depends only on credibility. Industry depends totally on the mutual faith between the workers and the managers. While taking meals, we have to keep faith in the cook who is otherwise capable of killing the entire family by poisoning the food. It is only faith which allows us to entrust our entire property to the spouse who could easily run away with all the wealth. With all such apprehensions in life, man feels secured only under the umbrella of faith. For one who totally lacks faith, the question of undertaking any business does not arise. Such a person would only be able to live a dreadful life full of apprehensions and would hardly have a peaceful moment. He would not be in a position to confide in or open his heart to anyone on personal secret matters. As a consequence, he would be forced to live a perpetually apprehensive life of a deranged person suffocating within himself with a mind full of unexpressed desires. Thus one finds that it is impossible to live in this world without Shraddha, interaction in worldly matters, whereas in the field of spirituality, Shraddha is considered as the most essential vital force, pran. Followers of idealism are apparently losers, but cherishing Shraddha in the pursuit of high principles enables them to bear the inconveniences of selfless relinquishments and sacrifices willingly and happily. The existence of God and soul is not verifiable in any laboratory. On the other hand, it remains an undisputable, eternal truth exclusively established by Shraddha, faith. The character and personality of a person, which is greatly influenced by his inherent traits and behavioral patterns, reflect only his confirmed beliefs, which is nothing but Shraddha in certain ideologies. Each individual has his own characteristic habits and dogma deeply imbibed in his character, which he is not prepared to discard ordinarily. These deeply ingrained traits, sanskaras, are in fact developed by prolonged repetitions of thinking, believing and translating into actions a set of ideas. Most of these traits are often irrational, bordering on dogmas based on superstitions which do not stand the test of logic. But the individual is so strongly attached to them that he begins to see truth in them. With his conviction in the preconceived notions, he exhibits an adamant attitude in advocating his ideology as the absolute truth based on facts, for which he is always prepared to take confrontation with anyone and everyone. This stubbornness in convictions is nothing but a play enacted by his Shraddha. The force of logic too is born out of the womb of Shraddha. Although logic gives birth to Vicharna, discriminatory thinking, and Shraddha to Vishwas, conviction, yet the former, Vicharna, too needs a base for ideology, Vichar, which cannot be established without faith or Shraddha. Otherwise, merely with the help of logical thinking, it is not possible to channelize the contemplatory processes of self-advancement, Chintan, in any direction. It is only made possible with the faith accompanying deep contemplation on the accepted ideology. In other words, it is not possible to do logical and discriminative thinking without the help of Shraddha. Faith is always at the root of formulation of logic on any ideology, contemplation thereon, and is also inspirational in seeking the truth. Shraddha is intimately assimilated in human character, without which ambitions of advancement and progress will never be fulfilled. It is not possible even to live for a moment without Shraddha. The fact that man remains oblivious to its existence is inconsequential. Deep penetration on the subject, Sukshma Drishti, enlightens that the entire process of perpetuation of life and its various achievements are in fact products of Shraddha. A mother bears the child in her womb for 9 months as an integral part of her body. She makes a sacrifice of her own flesh and blood to nourish the child. It is an example of a high level of Shraddha, the seed of which is sown in the being during its development in the womb. The mother provides protection to the child selflessly. Would it be possible for a newly born to come into existence, if woman considered it illogical and unnecessary to bear the burden of discomfort? It is Shraddha only which makes a child yearn and wail for closeness of mother's breast, for her love and affection. Devoid of language and speech, the newborn depends only on Shraddha in mother. On the other hand, the parents endeavor to make every possible effort for the development of the child. They make all sorts of troublesome arrangements for the training of the child. In this endeavor, their only objective is the total development of the personality of child. From the point of view of logic, every effort in this world must be utilitarian. Judging against this criterion, parents would consider nurturing children as a losing proposition from every point of view. Thus, barely logic of consideration would endanger the very existence of child. If profitability becomes the sole consideration of man, the institution of family and society would disintegrate. In such a situation, civilization cannot hope to survive for long. The strong bond of affection keeping the family together is made of Shraddha only. It inspires each member to cooperate and overlook own interests for the benefit of other members of the family. Where it is absent, the family disintegrates. Bitterness amongst the spouses and clash of interests between members of family occurs because of lack of Shraddha. From the point of view of logic and utility, there does not seem to be any necessity to support even old parents. They would appear only as unnecessary burden. Considerations of Shraddha, however, apprise the person of the gratitude due to them. Throughout life, one yearns for their blessings and affections. These sentiments are gifts of Shraddha only, which always keep a strong youth humble in his interactions with the infirm parents. Shraddha is the oven in which the character of a person is molded. Once Shraddha is recognized as a fundamental ingredient of life, a need is felt to make it intensified, rectified and mature. This is not possible without taking the help of concept of existence of the Supreme Being. Faith in existence of God and an endeavor to establish a link with Him results in the direct apparent benefit of strengthening of convictions in high ideals. With it, the individual is transmuted into a person reflecting presence of divinity in his supra-conscious, which is an extension of the omnipresent God within his soul. It is reflected as development of faculty of idealistic contemplation within and performance of activities promoting high ideals without. Shraddha may be regarded as the seed of greatness. It sprouts, grows and matures to make life a repository of great achievements. In this way, it becomes comparable to Kalpvriksh, a tree in heaven which is said to grant all wishes. The full potential, varchasva, of sentience, chetna, in the being is manifested in this manner. The courage and strength which transmute the animal in man into a civilized person and upgrade him into a superhuman and then to the status of a saint, is made feasible only with the help of Shraddha. Shraddha and theism are interdependent. The direct evidence of grace of God descends on man as nothing else than Shraddha. With progressive increase of this element, the possibility of glorification of life is confirmed in commensurate proportion. This element of Shraddha may be considered as the foundation on which the structure of Riddhis and Siddhis, paranormal control over sensory and extrasensory elements, is erected. There is absolutely no doubt about Shraddha being an indirect consequence of theism. Even where there is an element of doubt in the efficacy of worship for achievement of direct results, the gift of Shraddha by the Almighty itself should be viewed as His extraordinary favor. Shraddha is the strongest, the most ideal force, providing a meaning to life. Emerging from ethereal supra-conscious level, it illuminates entire life with peace, happiness and prosperity. In its extended sense, Shraddha means an unwavering devotion, astha, to high ideals. Such a conviction, when translated into principles, siddhata, and action in worldly affairs is called nishtha, whereas in the realms of philosophy and metaphysics, where considerations on the reality of soul, life and faith in God are involved, it is known as Shraddha. Astha, faith, inspires, activates, provides momentum in progress and enlightens the field of contemplation. In absence of Astha in life, it is impossible to move in the direction of self-advancement. Nishtha gives rise to Sankalp, determination. Sankalp produces courage which brings out parakram, heroism, inherent in the person. The manifestation of Nishtha in the supra-conscious level produces involvement in an alertness for the objective, with development of acuteness in planning and implementation. As a consequence, significant progress becomes possible. Analytical considerations indicate that though intellectual capacity of a person also has its own utility, the potency of Shraddha is supreme. For this reason, Shraddha and life are considered inseparable from each other. Character of a person is nothing but an introductory reflection of the Shraddha within his self. For self-advancement, as well as for various endeavors for seeking communion with God, it is necessary to cultivate Shraddha and seek its help. Shraddha is absolutely essential for high objectives of self-evolution. While suggesting the most potent means of God realization and for communion with God within self, the pundits of spirituality have emphasized the eminence of Shraddha itself. The epic Ramcharitmanas compares Bhavani and Shankar, two complementary aspects of divinity depicting powers governing the activities of inanimate and animate world, with Shraddha and Vishwas respectively, with the help of which communion with God is possible. Extrasensory components of human being are far more important than the flesh, blood and bones in his physical body. Man comes into existence as consequence of sentience or emotions, bhavna, lives in a world of sentience and ultimately dissipates only in sentience. Research in spirituality indicates that sentience is carried with soul beyond death. Shraddha is only a deference for sentience or emotions. Whenever this attribute of empathy exists, man appears fully contented. God incarnate Sri Krishna states, Satvanurupa sarvasya shraddha bhavati bharat. Shraddham yo yam purusho yo yat shraddha sa ev sah. Gita 17/3. A higher level of excellence in the inner self is known as Shraddha. Its operational facet is bhakti, an unwavering surrender to God. In colloquial usage, Shraddha and Bhakti are considered synonymous. Nevertheless, there is a subtle difference between the two. In its abstract sense, Shraddha represents faith of the supra-conscious. It may be described as an inherent instinct of unending devotion to high ideals. Whereas, in practice, it is seen as Bhakti. Various human activities inspired by compassion, benevolence, service and percepts of intimacy may be known as Bhakti. Bhakti appears in many forms such as patriotism, Desh Bhakti, belief in ideals, Adarsh Bhakti, faith in God, Ishwar Bhakti, and provides inspiration for many activities of exemplary idealism, like discardance of selfish interests and sacrifice, Tyag Balidan, and Tap Sadhana, spiritual, that is, religious asceticism. When convictions and aspirations reach a certain level of maturity, motivating a person to persevere for the desired goal, they are known as Sankalp, unwavering determination to reach a goal. The enormous power of Sankalp is well known. With the strength of Sankalp, people are known to have achieved miraculous success in spite of limited resources and inopportune circumstances. A high intensity of Sankalp forcefully channelizes the mental faculties and physical activities in the desired direction and surmounting innumerable obstacles, succeeds in taking them to the desired goal, which is often initially considered beyond reach. History is full of narrations of stupendous feats of famous women and men. In fact, they had only demonstrated the miraculous power of Sankalp. In this context, it is also required to be understood that either Sankalp initially makes its appearance as Vishwas, firm conviction, in the supra-conscious, or it appears independently in the mind irrespective of Vishwas. Generally, Sankalp appears only as a consequence of Vishwas, and that is why the convictions of the supra-conscious pertaining to high ideals have been recognized as twin attributes of Shraddha and Vishwas. When affiliated to high ideals, Shraddha and Vishwas are symbolized as the supra-benevolent pair of Shiv and Parvati, deities. On the contrary, when associated with destructive objectives of degradation, they are seen engaged in evil and cruel activities of devil or Satan illustrated in ancient legends. The character and personality of a person is in fact a reflection of his Shraddha. The Chetna of a person resolves into three forces which Kriya, action, Vicharna, contemplatory process, and Bhavna, sentience. When applied in the direction of self-advancement, their respective resultants are righteous deeds, Satkarm, righteous knowledge or wisdom, Sadgyan, and righteous disposition, Sadbhav. Spirituality, Adhyatma, is the science of development and effective deployment of these forces. The vast institution of education in spirituality, Brahma Vidya, is meant only for this purpose. The endeavor for combining Chetna with self-advancement is known as Yoga. Sadhana of Yoga is classified into three main sub-disciplines, that is, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. These are three exclusive vehicles for carrying one to the pinnacle of self-advancement. This is the Trinity, Triveni, conducive to the total self-evolution, realization of the inner self, the ultimate of progressive evolution of the soul. With the foregoing deliberations, we come to the conclusion that for success in any aspect of human life, the greatest, the most powerful and the most competent force is Shraddha. Creativity takes birth in the deep-seated environment of supra-conscious. Whereas physical body of a person comes into existence because of the efforts of parents, his level of excellence is born by the grace of communion of Shraddha and Vishwas present in him, which may be regarded as the celestial mother and father of the being. While ascribing destiny or fate to the will of God, we only metaphorically indicate the implication of the environmental state of supra-conscious of a person playing the decisive role in his progress or degeneration. Basically, heavenly blessings, grace of God, or curse of Satan, are nothing but boons and banes of one's own supra-conscious. Colloquially, it is said that man makes his own destiny. Gita says, Atmav Hyatmano Bandhuratmav Ripuratmanah, that is, man himself is his friend or foe. He is the master of the key to his progress or degeneration, which is positively and safely kept in his supra-conscious. This is the master key to self-advancement which pundits, scholars, of spirituality have given various names like Astha, Nishtha, Shraddha, Bhakti, Vishwas and Sankalp. This concept has also been elucidated diversely as attributes of sentience, bhavna, and aspirations. The happiness of today and brightness of future are totally dependent on righteous Shraddha, that is, Shraddha for positive aspects of life. The epic called Puranas are historical accounts of ancient events in which the mystic significance, basic philosophy, methodology of development and augmentation of Shraddha have been unraveled and advocated through the medium of events and laws. This one word Shraddha encompasses all dimensions of that environment of supra-conscious which is conducive for bringing in happiness in past, memory, present and future. The seed of Shraddha gradually develops into the tree of character and personality, self-identity or individuality, of the person. Whatever a person becomes, whatever he achieves, is exclusively and in totality a miracle of the power of his Shraddha. A comprehension of the complex concepts of Brahma Vigyan, science of God realization, which is nothing but Atma Vigyan, science of self-realization, would indicate that the advocation of Vedanta, a philosophy of spirituality, and eternal truth, Sanatan Satya, by the philosophers of spirituality, Tattvadarshi, have been expressed variously in the formulae named Ayam Atma Brahma, Pragyanam Brahma, Tattvamasi, Soham, Shivoham, Satchidanandoham etc. Suggesting infallible means of protection from degeneration and help in self-advancement, the creators of doctrines of spirituality declare that man himself has to shoulder the responsibility of shaping his own destiny. They advise, Uddhare datmanatmanna natmanmavsadhyet, meaning redeem or uplift your own self, do not let yourself denigrate. They are convinced beyond any doubt that man himself controls the events of his rise and fall. Circumstances are only consequences of his own actions. Choice of goal, efforts and progress are his own endeavors, whereas resources and cooperation are attracted and assembled as a natural consequence of the former processes. In accordance with the choice of goal, whether it is self-advancement or degeneration, commensurate favorable situation with assistance of people, resources and circumstances continues to develop. In view of this magnificence of Shraddha, the sciences of spirituality have shown reverence to it as an actual extension of power of Almighty present within the human being. Shraddha is the powerhouse which continues to enlighten the road leading to evolution of soul in search of absolute truth. Whenever one becomes momentarily distracted and begins to lose his orientation because of mundane involvements, sex and wealth, like an affectionate mother, Shraddha shakes the person to awaken from the slumber. Human intellect is incapable of understanding all dimensions of virtues, magnificence and wisdom, Gyan, of absolute truth, Satya. Shraddha develops as an expression of one's humble and affectionate submission to the latter. Shraddha continues to guide and guard those attributes of a person which sustain truth. Only with the help of Shraddha, the Malin Chit, polluted subconscious in deeper levels beyond voluntary control, is able to struggle and discard the polluted traits again and again and engage in contemplation for communion with God. With it, the intellect, buddhi, too dissociates itself from engrossment in mundane objects. With gradual assimilation of divine wisdom, Paramatma Gyan, and after becoming supra-receptive it changes into celestial sentience, Divyabhav. One does not possess adequate wisdom and the general inherent faculty of discrimination is not sufficiently developed to continuously and convincingly evaluate the factual and far-reaching consequences of proper and improper, necessary and unnecessary actions and their compatibility with evolution of soul. The struggle against indecision is often meaningless. In such a situation, if propriety or impropriety of all actions, mental and physical, are surrendered to the supreme motivator, God, mind feels uniquely relieved. One feels totally relaxed. With God himself as the navigator, who would have apprehensions and for what? The moment one develops the capacity to commune with the Omnipotent, all fears dissipate. The slightest contact with God gives one enormous strength. His personality and character begins to radiate virtues and celestial attributes. Life appears full of bliss. This relationship and contact manifests and continues to develop as Shraddha till communion with absolute truth is achieved. In a way, this interaction with Supreme Entity serves as a packet of food required to be carried on a long journey, and as such it is as valuable, as significant, as the objective or the goal itself, which is communion with absolute truth or God. Shraddha may also be seen as appearance of a feeling of intimate personal relationship, a sense of belonging to God. A fully ripened virtuous Shraddha purifies the supra-conscious without any conscious effort. Imbibition of Shraddha in life shows a progressive increase in charm in the nature and behavior of the person, which continues to be a source of self-contentment to him. Shraddha is one of those sweet emotional ingredient of sentience, bhavna, which assuredly takes one to the path of name, fame and success. The scholars of science of spirituality proclaim, Bhavani Shankarao Vande Shraddha Vishwas Rupinao Yabhayam Veena Na Pashyanti Siddhasvansthamishwaram, Ramayan, Balkand. To begin with, let us show reverence to Bhavani, idolization of the vital force of God regulating non-physical elements of the world like survival, growth and sentience of animate and inanimate life, and to Bhagwan Shankar, the creative and regulative physical powers of God governing the intimate material world, represented by Shraddha and Vishwas, without which it is neither possible to control the elements of nature, Siddhi, nor fulfill the aspiration of communion with God. Shraddha comes into existence as a consequence of conjunction of simplicity and piety. The latter are very much required for dissociating oneself from matters related to the physical world. Intensity of Shraddha increases commensurately with simplicity of wants, aspirations and imbibition of piety in love. Simplicity provides sentient perception of the Creator, whereas through the medium of pious and selfless love, devoid of desire of reciprocity in any form, his blissfulness, rasanubhuti, becomes perceivable. Shraddha is a combination of the above two attributes. It includes an emotional perception, bhavna, as well as joy, bliss. With the emergence of Shraddha, most of the obstacles in the way to the ultimate goal are at once surmounted. In social interaction too, Shraddha plays a vital role. It is this element of Shraddha generated by the society itself which serves as the medium for showing proper direction to an aimless, corrupt and polluted public life. In ancient times, it was considered essential to impart the full concept of Shraddha for maintenance of consistency in spiritual practices, sadhana. The situation has not changed today in spite of change in time and socio-economic environment. God is an eternal truth. His characteristics and attributes are not bound by space and time. Because of this very reason, the ways and means for communicating with Him are also not subject to change. A communion with Him is possible even today. It is also possible to feel His presence. However, it necessitates the finale of progressive evolution to a state, in course of which various types of practices, sadhanas, are to be performed, adjustments to be made to changes, interruptions in tranquility to be tolerated and vital decisions to be made. All this is possible only with strong emotional stability, for which Shraddha is absolutely necessary. This is only a brief introduction of the power of Shraddha to make one appreciate it as the most competent driving force of human life. Devlok, heaven, is on this very earth. This is the land where Devta, deities, take birth, attain maturity, gain strength and acquire capability for granting boons. They continue to rise and set in the vast infinite horizon of Shraddha. The entire framework of mantra, devta, guru, upasana, sadhana and siddhi is erected on the foundation stone of Shraddha. As a matter of fact, the vast discipline of sadhana has been created with exclusive objective of providing a strong force for harnessing and taming the immensely potent genie of Shraddha Vishwas for utilitarian purposes. The character and personality of a person are shaped by the Shraddha present in the inner self. With the help of Shraddha, it becomes possible to guide and monitor various types of activities and take them to pinnacles of success. Shraddha is the most trusted and close secretary of Atma, soul. With its help, various celestial achievements, ranging from self-advancement to paranormal achievements and miracles, Riddhi Siddhi, as well as from self-realization, Atma Sakshatkar, to communion with God, Ishwar Darshan, become possible. Shraddha must be regarded as the most important requirement for self-advancement. Success or failure in sadhana depends on this one factor. Hence the sadhakas are subjected to a variety of exercises ranging from Guru Diksha, initiation in the doctrine under the direct guidance of a guru, to Shaktipat, extra-sensory transfer of spiritual power by Guru, and are required to go through a variety of known-unknown arduous ascetic exercises along with sadhana. Interesting legends are propagated for maximum intensification of Shraddha and to bring it to the level of maturity to make the sadhak worthy of achieving the desired, righteous, objective. There are eternally confirmed and established principles inculcating and strengthening Shraddha. The subject for which imbibition of Vishwas, conviction, a component of Shraddha is considered necessary on a permanent basis, should be thoroughly analyzed for its authenticity and scientific credibility on the basis of hard facts and logical considerations. Only after a total intellectual conviction beyond any shadow of doubt, one may expect a permanency of Shraddha and hope for achievement of success in desired fields of operation with greater certainty. Momentary spurts of Shraddha arising out of hearsay from odd quarters or information collected in a hurried manner, do not have a lasting impact, and the Shraddha generated in this manner, being superficial, is likely to be eroded on the slightest impingement. It keeps on happening now and then. With an impetuous spurt of enthusiasm, one takes up a particular type of sadhana recommended by someone. Not long thereafter, some other person points out fallacies of this school of sadhana and recommends some other more effective method. As a consequence, doubts creep in mind and the sadhak discards the old school for the newer. In this process of change, a doubt continues to lurk in his mind about the correctness and efficacy of the latter method as well, and there is also an apprehension whether one would be able to stick to it. Often this process is repeated again and again with people talking about merits and demerits of various schools of spiritual practices. The sadhak, therefore, finds it difficult to make the correct choice of school. It is well known that with a mind full of doubts one cannot achieve success even in worldly affairs. The field of research in spirituality is totally based and dependent on the power of Shraddha. In the absence of this basic ingredient, even the routine ritualistic exercises remain futile. Instead, one continues to be apprehensive about counter effects because of irregularities of rituals and consequently keep on looking for fallacies in methodology or inadequacies in application of techniques because of which desired results could not be obtained and adverse reactions are apprehended. As a matter of fact, the significance of performance of rituals in science of spirituality is only 1/4, whereas that of Shraddha and Vishwas is 3/4. Where the intensity of Shraddha is sufficiently strong, even naivety of rituals produces miraculous results. On the other hand, even meticulously performed rituals under the expert guidance of a priest remain lifeless and ineffective where the aspirant lacks total conviction and his mind is full of doubts. Hence, it is obligatory for an applicant of sadhana to build up a certain amount of maturity in Shraddha before seeking entrance to the school of sadhana. Shraddha and Vishwas go hand in hand. The latter is also known as Nishtha. Before accepting a doctrine, one should examine it in detail. The authenticity of the doctrine should be examined beforehand on considerations of logic, facts, consultations, examinations, etc., and only after a thorough analysis some conclusions may be drawn. The process may take time, but one should not lose patience. One should not derive half-baked conclusions in a hurry. On the other hand, there should be an attempt to arrive at firm convictions so that there remains no scope for revisions because of the least misguidance by someone. Generally, people are not aware of methodology of rituals, Vidhi Vidhan. They go on confirming the authenticity of information about the techniques told by some odd person from all and sundry. It is an unfortunate situation for the Bharatiya religion where differences of opinions have assumed large dimensions. Attempting to reconcile these differences, one would find himself entangling in a cobweb of uncertainties and would gain nothing but confusion, depletion of Shraddha and apprehensions in mind. The Anushtans performed with such a state of mind hardly produce any result. As an analogy, Shraddha and Vishwas are comparable to life, and the religious rituals to body of a being. In absence of the former, the rituals lose their vitality. Vishwas, conviction, means fastening oneself hard to the accepted doctrine. In sadhana it is reflected in regular performance of specified rituals of upasana strictly without any laziness or procrastination and with total involvement. When the religious doctrines lay great emphasis on adhering to regulations of sadhana and mention about the possibility of failure of sadhana because of irregularity of procedures incurring loss and discontentment, the object is only to emphasize this fastness of adherence to specified routines. Apprehensions about possible harm during the course of upasana have been indicated only to educate that desired benefits would not be accrued under some circumstances. Otherwise, while undertaking a virtuous deed, even if some irregularity occurs, there is hardly any possibility of harm. For undertaking sadhana, a beginner should make a selection of the ritual according to his physico-mental environment. Once chosen, the routine should be strictly adhered to without leaving a scope for lethargy and indifference. In absence of strict self-discipline, one begins to lose his hold on astha, faith, promptness is reduced, and consequent enthusiasm, encouragement and enlightenment also become subdued. Physical exercises help in increasing the body strength. For augmentation of knowledge, help of a system of education is taken. To acquire more wealth, one chooses an industry or business. For all these activities, it becomes necessary to collect logistics and implements and use them appropriately. In the same manner, development of Shraddha and Vishwas is carried out through the medium of idols of deities, places of pilgrimage and other symbols of worship. The Shraddha consecrated on the above symbols reflects back to the aspirants as fructification of desired goal. An elastic ball thrown by a person against a hard surface bounces back to the person. It is said that in ancient days such missiles were in operation which were guided by the acoustics of the target. After hitting the target, they returned to the operator. Sound waves generated in a dome structure reflect back to the source. If one goes around the earth in a straight line, he is bound to return to the place where he began his journey. The same transpires in the case of upasana. Shraddha is projected towards the symbols of worship. Being inanimate, these symbols are incapable of reacting, but they positively reflect it, Shraddha, towards the devotee. With Shraddha, an idol made of cow dung, say an idol of Ganesh, would be as miraculously effective as the luminous deity in person. The ace archer of Mahabharata Eklavya had acquired a much greater expertise by learning with the help of mud statuette of Guru Dronacharya than what the Pandavas could achieve under his direct guidance. This is the miracle of the force of Shraddha. The deities do not reside in material objects like wood or stone idol. It is said, Bhavo he vidyate dev tasmat bhavo he karnam, that is, the abode of deity is one's own sentience. Hence the primary reason for the benefits accrued from a pilgrimage lies in the emotive involvement, bhavna, of the pilgrim. In absence of Shraddha, the idol of a deity or any other structure of worship may at the most be regarded as an excellent piece of art or architecture. In augmentation of Shraddha and Vishwas, which are abstract attributes of the supra-conscious, a living element also plays a role, that is, Guru. In the field of self-advancement, the significance of Guru Dharan, embracement of Guru for guidance, has always been appreciated and recommended. The verses, Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu, Akhand Mandalkaram Tasmai Shri Guru Vainuma, Agyantimirandhasi, etc. sung in praise of Guru are indicative of the transcendence of Guru and the reverence he deserves, Guru Bhakti. At times this noble concept has also been usurped for exploitation of naive persons by people having vested interests, and consequently damaging superstitions have become rampant. Nevertheless, there is not the least exaggeration in the truth of statement and emphasis on its acceptability that embracement of a guru results in extraordinary augmentation of the attributes of Shraddha and strengthening of Vishwas. Numerous doctrines are propagated by various schools of spiritual research. These dogmas differ not only in concept but are often mutually contradicting and at times even competitive. In such a complex situation, a person with an average intelligence finds it difficult to evaluate and choose the correct discipline. Because of doubts, apprehensions and uncertainties in mind, it becomes difficult to accept a particular doctrine totally and convincingly. Nor the person finds it possible to follow it with full enthusiasm. The casual, half-heartedly carried out experimental efforts are thus always devoid of vitality. They do not produce any result worth mentioning. Such failures only result in loss of convictions. In course of time, disappointments lead to indifference till the person totally loses interest and discontinues sadhana. In order to avoid such a state of uncertainty, the sadhak has to appoint a superior authority of unquestionable authenticity and integrity under subservience of whom proper guidance could be accepted. It is something like discipline in army. The superior officer issues an order which the soldier follows irrespective of known and unknown consequences. The responsibility of propriety or impropriety of the command lies on the shoulders of the officer. The soldier is only required to obey the orders and act promptly. Sadhana too demands an identical discipline. For personal satisfaction, one is advised to do as much discussion on utility of some doctrines, debate and investigate all aspects thereof, or seek clarification as one finds necessary. Similarly, before choosing and embracing Guru for guidance of a particular discipline of sadhana, one has the freedom to satisfy himself in respect of former's knowledge, wisdom, experience and character from all possible sources. However, finally one must reach a state when decisions and directives of some authority, Guru, become acceptable like self-imposed discipline and are complied with full trust and confidence. Once this much has been achieved, the sadhak should get assured that the state of uncertainty and indecision has come to an end and it has become possible to reach the desired goal by confident endeavors. In context of doctrines and programs, the disciplines imposed by Guru should be considered sacrosanct. Here guidance of one Guru is considered adequate. If directives are sought from too many Gurus, the multiplicity of their experience and consequent advisors would only create uncertainties in the mind of sadhak. Hence, only one teacher is required for learning a particular subject. The patient who keeps on consulting too many doctors is prescribed different types of medicines and is given varying advice. The result on the whole is, therefore, a deterioration instead of improvement in his condition. Life is full of a variety of requirements. For each specific requirement, specialist of the subject is needed. For building a house, an engineer; for medical treatment, a doctor; and for legal redressal, a lawyer is considered as a guru. Thus, there are experts, guru, in each field of activity. For specialized guidance for self-advancement, the choice of an expert in this very field is all the more and absolutely necessary. In this context, it is to be remembered that particularly in the field of sadhana, choice of one guru is more beneficial. According to the accepted principles, in such a case, the onus of responsibility for any inadvertence in misdirection would lie on the guru. While on the other hand, the sadhak, irrespective of any irregularity in sadhana, would positively get true benefit commensurate with his faith and devotion. Inspiration for Shraddha comes from tendencies of liking and involvement developed for high ideals, along with an inclination for surrender to these ideals. When such sentiments are cultivated for God, the process is called bhakti. The devotee is required to develop unusual love for God so much that, like a true lover, the separation becomes unbearable and there appears a constant yearning for surrender. In everyday life, the spouse attempts to develop such emotional involvement with the partner. Poetic illustrations of a moth's attraction and immolation in a flame exemplify the same state of surrender. Generally, people are unemotional, devoid of attributes of benevolence and are totally indifferent to others' sufferings. Rarely do they have celestial attributes like kindness, compassion, sentience and shraddha. They, therefore, find it difficult to imbibe those practices which are alien to their nature. Although many become skillful in ritualistic practices of worship, yet their inner self hardly contains any element of shraddha. Mechanical repetitions of ritualistic procedures do not serve any purpose. We may compare the rituals of worship with a body devoid of life. The capability to provide this vital force to it remains inherent in Shraddha only. Without Shraddha, spiritual practices are akin to an uninteresting puppet show, whereas with Shraddha they provide the pleasure of real-life drama. Acquisition of Shraddha through the medium of an idol, symbol or place, though justified in principle, has a major drawback. It is not possible to have a physical interaction with an inanimate object and, therefore, the effort continues to be unilateral. Symbolically, one may even establish a personal relationship with a tree, but does it respond like a living being? Hence a living symbol is chosen in the form of Guru and made interactive, pran pratisthapna, by projecting one's own Shraddha in him. With increase in faith, as a consequence of interaction with the Guru, the intensity of celestial empathy in the sadhak progressively increases. The interactions are direct, providing for a convenient means of continuous appraisal and appropriate guidance. Where the celestial competence of Guru is established, direct benefits of his association are accrued. It provides a momentum to development of spiritual competence with greater convenience and ease. In spiritual ideology, Guru has been assigned the same status as that of the parents. He has been compared with Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh, three supreme powers of God governing creation, maintenance and transformation. Yagyopavit, strands of consecrated thread symbolizing Gayatri, is worn across the shoulder as an insignia of Hindutva, Hindu ideology. During initiation to Hindu ideology, Yagyopavit Sanskar, this strand of threads is worn for the first time. On this occasion, following established traditions, the Guru formally initiates the disciple in Gayatri Mantra. Just as it is difficult to become educated without the help of a teacher, so it is to imbibe wisdom in the inner self without the help of Guru. Although a casual information may be obtained about the subject by reading or hearing to the wise, for spiritual practice of self-advancement, embracement of Guru has been considered as an absolute necessity. It provides a strong foundation for development of the element of Shraddha. Half the job is believed to be completed with success in selection and appointment of an appropriate deserving person of high integrity as Guru. Just as contact with a learned teacher or an experienced doctor makes one assured of success in education or treatment, the success of sadhana becomes decisive with the help of a Guru. Even close association with talented persons are known to have brought about extraordinary changes in people having ordinary capacities. Guru Diksha, initiation by Guru, is much more effective and utilitarian, since it involves a systematic scientific process of establishing a personal bondage of faith and trust. The methodology of religious rituals is easy to learn even with the help of books, but problems arise only in course of spiritual practice of self-advancement. On the path of self-advancement, one frequently faces ups and downs. Normal indoctrined intellect is unable to suggest far-sighted solutions to these problems. Consequently, mind gets confused and often arrives at impractical solutions to various problems. In such a situation, some support is found in an arrangement of appropriate and correct advice, and doors of convenience to an overall progress in life begin to open. In view of above and similar benefits, the necessity of embracing Guru has been advocated. Choosing an appropriate person as a Guru and placement of desired degree of trust and faith in him are like seeking a trusted and experienced companion for a difficult journey. In course of this interaction, while on one hand the Guru finds a subject for bestowing affection, on the other hand, the devotee has the satisfaction of receiving it. This interaction of mutual satisfaction is like that which transpires between a mother and the child feeding on her milk. Establishment of a bondage of mutual trust and faith between the Guru and disciple for achieving a common ideal is bound to produce miraculous and encouraging results.